I'd now like to introduce you to a wonderful member of our community, Stephanie Stavros. Stephanie has supported our cause by being a fierce advocate and champion for our community. Diagnosed with CF as a child, she has had many challenges from her CF and had to overcome many obstacles, including a recent hospital stay. I've been very moved personally by Stephanie's conviction and her tenacity, and also very moved by the struggle she's had to endure. We are so very lucky that she's able to join us tonight. So please join me in welcoming Stephanie Stavros.
Diamonds are forever. Oh wow, that was quite the introduction. Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you so much for all of you here tonight. It almost makes me emotional to think that each and every one of you are here to personally impact the lives of CF patients. I want to celebrate you tonight. My presentation, a lot of it will be unscripted. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster. I'm going to take you, hopefully make you cry happy tears. You might shed a few sad tears, but that's life with CF. It's an absolute roller coaster and it is relentless, so let's hang on. Thanks again for having me here tonight. What I think is a statement that I'd like to say to a lot of parents that have a new child diagnosed with CF is, I think it's really amazing. In my optimistic mind, I feel that the next generation of children will wonder why we had galas like this one right now. It won't make any sense because they're going to be doing so well. But the only way that's going to happen is if we keep doing this. You buy next year's ticket and you keep coming back. This is a popular statement right now. You know, my goal is to be the person that I needed when I was younger. Growing up with CF, I was at the hospital every 3 months. And I was taking part of a lot of clinical trials. This is an example. It's a video shot of one of the trials that I was in when they wanted to see how CF kids understood the disease. And I'd like to tell you that as I understood my disease, I resented it. I felt different. You know, my son right now is almost the age of me here. My son is 7. And he wants to be just like his buddies. And as a CF kid, I wanted to be just like my friends. And the more I knew about my disease, the more I realized that I was different. And you have to understand, this was in the 80s. I didn't know a single soul with CF. There was no social media. I couldn't bring up a video with a kid my age, doing my mask, doing my percussions. I couldn't see any of that. So I think how lucky we are today that we've made this community so much bigger with CF. You know, growing up, my parents weren't told the most hopeful picture. Of course, Sick Kids in CF Canada gave them so much hope, but the reality of the disease is we didn't even know where it stemmed. We hadn't even discovered the gene yet. So where do we start? How do we have hope? I started to hide my disease very early in life. And I'm gonna tell you, I came to these events, I came to 65 Roses, I came to events just like this tonight, but I, even at these events, wouldn't say, hey, I have CF. I'd come and help the auctions, I'd come, but I never wanted to be this person on stage. And I say that openly tonight, not because I'm ashamed of standing up here, but because I'm so proud to be here. When you hear someone up here on stage, you hear the reality of CF and you hear how devastating it can be. So when I was used to attend these events, I'd have to stand outside for this and take deep breaths, even if it was in the middle of winter, because it was too hard for me to hear the reality of what could be my future. I'm hoping tonight you'll hear a little bit more optimistic story with the reality sort of tangled into it, but today's story is a little different. So again, this is me, this is my family. I'm Stephanie Stavros, I'm a CF patient, I'm a CF advocate. But, you know, I'm so much more than that. I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, you know. We're so much more than this walking label of cystic fibrosis. But at this season of my life, I truly feel it is my calling to do this work and to help the CF community, because this is what I got right now. I'm off work right now. I've had to put my career on hold, but I still have so much energy to give, and this is where I want it to be in events like this tonight. Growing up with cystic fibrosis, a lot of patients or people, humans, can tell you a really sad story about a lot of hospital stays and a lot of hardships, but I'm going to tell you, even for being born in 1983, my life was pretty normal, especially for CF. My mom might tell you a different story because in 1983, I almost took her out. I was born with a bang of an entrance and needed major abdominal surgery to save my life. My mom's life was also at stake then. As the years went on, I slowly started to fall off the growth charts and my lung function slowly started to erode. In the 90s, there wasn't as many medical options. And to be honest with you, this was a typical storyline for someone with CF. So the doctors just had to make sure that I was doing my best, but this is quite expected. It's very different today. I looked at that chart that Dr. Morris put up, and I felt like it was a chart of my life because she had this line that right at the year of 25, it really spiked with growing Pseudomonas. And at 25 was my very first lung-related hospital stay. That's quite old for a CF patient born in 1983. But as going into my later 20s, I had a lung collapse that was quite severe, lasted over 6 weeks. And my lungs just slowly started to decline until the point I was evaluated for a double lung transplant. In 2019, that year was extremely rough for me. I no longer could be the parent that I wanted to be. I lost everything. Not only did I lose my career, but I lost the ability to even bathe myself at one point. I was tethered to an oxygen tank. I was on IV antibiotics for stretches of 6 months, 10 months. I really couldn't seem to shake this pneumonia that was just ravaging my lungs. I remember being on FaceTime with my mom one day and crying because I couldn't expand my rib cage and I couldn't take a big breath in. It felt like I had a belt just tightened around my chest. And that is the most terrifying feeling I could think of. When I was evaluated for a lung transplant, I went to Toronto General Hospital, and for that week, it was incredibly hard. They did ultrasounds of my chest and measured my lungs to see what new lungs would fit into my rib cage. We can imagine some of these tests being painful, but what I want you to remember is, again, I'm not a walking CF patient, I'm a human. I'm someone that has to come home from those tests and explain it to my son. There was one moment where the social worker said to me, "Oh, don't worry, we have some great books." And my son was 4, and I was like, I don't want your damn books, I want my lungs. Around this time, there was this rumble. There's these murmurs even of this new medicine that was available in the CF community. This medicine, Trikafta, which you've heard of, was a game changer. The trials had been going on in the States, the studies were published, and this looked like everything we'd been waiting for. In 1989, when they discovered the gene that causes CF, they said, "Steph, we're so close to a cure. We're so close." And for 30 years, I heard, we are so close to a cure. But this, the murmurs of this amazing drug, that was the closest we've heard of yet. But I'm going to be honest with you, every gene modulator before this one was just not made for my body or my genetic makeup. So when I heard about this new drug, honestly, I just wanted to ignore it because I thought, oh, not for me. My genes won't use this one. My genes won't react to this medicine because that's the heartache that I discovered with previous medicines for the CF community. And I was chatting on the phone with my friend Matt one day. He's like, "What is your gene type?" And he looked up the PDF, he circled it in red and texted me the picture of my genetic makeup and how it would be impacted by Trikafta. And from that moment, it was just a fire lit. I was ready to go. I was ready to fight. At that point, I was a new advocate. At that point, I was still in the CF closet. I had not spoken about my CF publicly. And it was to an extreme extent. I want you to know that I worked for an employer downtown in Toronto for 17 years. They didn't know of my disease. I married into an amazing Greek family. My in-laws didn't know about my disease. I traveled the world with my girlfriends. She didn't know about my disease. That is how intensely private I was about this. It was more of a privacy. It was an obsession at that point. So it took a lot of personal development for me to go out and say, this is my struggle. You can imagine going through a double lung transplant evaluation and still hiding that information. It was such a heavy weight. But truly a big part of my personal development was working and finding out more information, learning how to be an advocate through CF Canada. When I first talked to CF Canada, I was only familiar with them from events like this. And I love being a volunteer, I love going to zoo walks, but I didn't know how to be an advocate. And I spoke with them, and I was surprised on how much time they were willing to give me. I had hours of phone calls learning about the history of the drug evaluation process in Canada, and learned how to, what was my mission? What do we need to fight for? And where is the red tape currently in our country? I learned so much information. Thank you so much, Kelly and your team. They're just incredible. So I had a choice. I could stay quiet, and I could hide, and I could just feel this weight and the suffocating impact of CF. Or I could fight like hell and get so loud. So I got so loud. I was obnoxiously loud. At first I started doing a social media campaign. I wrote newspapers, I did everything. And as a novice advocate, I thought, everyone's gonna wanna hear my story. But I felt like I was screaming into an abyss. No one cared. And that was really heartbreaking. But I had a local friend who had an exceptional amount of experience advocating, Beth Vanstone, and she said, have you tried your local paper? And to me, I'm thinking the Pickering News Advertiser does not care about this. But they did. And they published my paper and Global News picked it up, and from that it went national. So I'm so grateful for that great advice. And I said I was a dog with a bone. 2 weeks before Christmas, I sat down in Starbucks. I printed out all of these photos of my family that you'll see here. I sat there with a sticky note. I said, this is my family. I'm their mom. This is my baby. This is my first miracle. I need you to give me my second miracle. This is my husband. He needs his wife. This is my sister. She needs her sister. These are my parents. They worked so hard to get me to this year. You need to help them at this point. And I sent registered mail to every single person that I could Wikipedia that could help me. I even went as far as my son was 4 at the time, and he had this coloring book, and it had letters to Santa. And so he, in his adorable little 4-year-old writing, just wrote trikafta, trikafta, trikafta down the page. And I, folded it up. Let's go, son, I need another one. Rolled it up and mailed it to all these executives and anyone I thought could maybe help me. When Global News, when they came to my home, I said, all I'm doing is sitting here picturing the next step. I said, I'm going to be in front of my Christmas tree. I'm going to be, the stockings will still be there. I'm going to have an ice cold mason jar of water, and there's going to be condensation coming down the glass. I was picturing every single detail because I needed this with every cell in my body to happen. I also made a promise at that point that I'm not fighting for just me, that the entire community needs this. At this point in the fight, because I was being so loud, I started to make some amazing friends and get to know others with CF. Another part of my campaigning was to connect with people that had never heard of CF. I wasn't looking to speak to the echo chamber that we are used to fundraising to, my aunt, my uncle. I didn't want to speak to anybody that knew about CF. My goal and my connection point on social media was to speak to moms that just wanted to be good moms. And maybe in one season, being a good mom for someone looks like purchasing all the hockey equipment. And maybe one season it looks like getting a tutor for their kid. But for me, it meant don't die. Be here for my son. Watch him turn 5, 6, 7. Watch my husband turn 40. Watch me turn 40. So I pleaded and had people start hearing my voice and contributing to my asks. They signed petitions, they wrote letters. I had one family write 10 letters and they'd never met me. I think a big lesson that I'll learn, take away forever with this fight is how truly good people truly are. So when I was doing these campaigns online, I'd update on social media every now and then. I don't know if anybody cared about this or watched it, but it was therapeutic for me to document the process. So I got home from a clinic appointment and my lung function was 28%, and I felt wretched. In this picture here, I have a new PICC line in my arm. So there's a line going into my bicep up and into the top of my heart to deliver a new round of very strong medications that are 4 times as strong as what you'd receive in the ICU if you had severe sepsis. These are extremely hard medicines. So in this picture, I am not only tired, I had a very bad appointment, but my arm was bleeding, hence the sweater. But I said, Jim, would you mind coming and sitting with me and doing a video? And you can see my son is like, fine. He's holding his teddy bear. And I started updating, and this was the update that I put online that day. So I had a follow-up appointment today. I went right back to St. Mike's in the morning, and we did a test dose of the medications just to make sure I didn't have any sort of adverse reactions. And while I was there, I got to meet with a couple of my specialist docs and one of the pharmacists. So what I was looking for from the pharmacist was to get an update on where we are at in this crazy journey of Vertex and trying to get this miracle drug for me. And sitting with him, I found it unapproved.
Are you kidding me? You've been approved? Oh my God, you're kidding me!
I get teary-eyed every time. So that was the beginning of an amazing new journey, and we were over the moon, and I hadn't even had the drug yet. It was still going to be a couple weeks until I got that medicine, and to be honest with you, a couple weeks in the lives of someone with CF can be make it or break it. In those 2 weeks, my mom stayed with us. I lost the ability to bathe myself on my own. There was twice during that time that my mom or my husband had to take me off the bathroom floor. I lost the ability to pick up my son with confidence and to laugh without going into an extreme coughing fit that would cause me to throw up. It got very scary. Just in the nick of time, I got 2 beautiful pills, and I was sitting in front of my fireplace with the stockings hung and the Christmas tree up. And my husband brought me over that mason jar with the condensation all sort of cupped around it. And he brought it over to me, and on Global News, I took my first dose of Trikafta, given to me on compassionate care, and I was the first Canadian to do this. My team was ecstatic. This is the first time they've written a prescription for Trikafta. It was a huge win, not just for me, but for everyone that helped me get to 36 years old. And Trikafta, it really worked. As Kelly said, we have people saying that an hour later they felt the impact, and that is very true. It wasn't 1 hour for me, but at 9 o'clock in the morning, I took my medicine, and by noon, my lungs were clearing out decades of infection. By 10 o'clock that night, my best friend FaceTimed me, and I'm just up in the kitchen making myself a cup of tea, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but at that point, I wasn't just getting myself a cup of tea. I was laying on the couch, and I was pretty useless. So my life was saved. And, this is where our story really could end. And I could be like, good night, thank you, but it doesn't. So Trikafta works so well for me, and I'm standing here today, and I'm alive here today because of it. My lung function went from 28% to 42%. And that just doesn't happen, especially for me with CF. I could do a cocktail of antibiotics, one after another for 10 months. My numbers wouldn't budge. I'd be stable, but they wouldn't go up. So seeing my numbers go up for the first time was just incredible. I gained 30 pounds. I'm not a big human. So it's a lot of weight that I was very, very unwell. Sometimes even it would hurt when I was walking on my feet without slippers. I had an enhanced, taste. I'm not gonna read all of them, I know you can read, but I didn't realize that I had lost my taste and smell until I just came alive those couple of weeks. The coolest thing was that I tested negative for CF. So you can see here how the chart works, but my level right now is 25. So just from a salt chloride level, I test negative for CF. If you were to look at my chart, my x-ray, you'll see a different story, but at least that test got me negative for CF. Crazy enough, I actually measured a centimeter higher. I think because I wasn't so buckled over from the lung pain, I was able to stand up straight and feel comfortable. So I actually grew a centimeter somehow at the age of 36. And my bowels started working properly. I grew up with stomach aches my whole life. I didn't know what it was like to not have a tummy ache in the morning, but here we are, stomach ache free. And the most importantly, I was deferred from the lung transplant evaluation process. They just said, oh, we'll see you some other time, maybe, but hopefully not. So Global News, when they covered my story, they kind of put a clip in there actually they put that clip that you saw there. They put the clip of me telling Jim and having that great moment, which was wonderful, but it had a link to my social media on it, to my personal Facebook. I like to share my journey on a sort of blog type thing. Hate that word, but called Rosy Life with Gray. But on my personal page, Global News had put a link there. So I started getting so much heat. I started getting, to be honest with you, some people were lovely. They were like, congratulations, oh my God. Some people said, Trikafta, what? What is this thing? How did you get it? I heard some person said, why did this lady in Pickering get it and my kid doesn't have it? Some people hated me for this. And some people just sent me all of the angry letters they had already sent to the Ford government. I'm like, I don't represent Dougie. But I knew where it was coming from. It was coming from an area of helplessness and anger and sadness. And even if the letters weren't kind, I wanted to answer every single one of them. There was a collection of people that were calling me, literally they would video, FaceTime me from Nova Scotia. And this one girl, she was overseas, she was in Europe doing some school. She said, can you please help my friend? And then this other person said, oh, this person I used to work with in Nova Scotia, his daughter needs this medication, can you help her? I started hearing from so many people in this little town of Nova Scotia. And I thought, okay, I gotta meet this girl. I thought it was so amazing how communities rally for each other. So I reached out to her parents and we had a very lengthy conversation. Her name is Chantel Lindsay, and she was in the hospital. She had recently lost access to a gene modulator, the one that came before Trikafta, and she was in the hospital. And her parents said, Steph, she needs hope. And at that moment in time, I was filled with so much hope. So they said, can you FaceTime her? She's in the ICU. Can you FaceTime her? Can you just give her that hope? Tell her she's gonna get it. So I chatted with her. She's this amazing 23-year-old. And I said, Chantel, I'm in my family room. If I got this, you're gonna get it. There's no way you're not gonna get it. I promised her, I said, I promise you, you're gonna get Trikafta too. We're gonna do this together. Very shortly after, Chantel lost her fight with cystic fibrosis. And those words, I promise, I hold them so heavy in my heart today because I wasn't just saying words. I felt to my core that they were true. And I was so devastated for this loss in our community. And I'd like to tell you that this is the only time this has happened, but it's happened so many times. It happens more than it doesn't happen. And we have to stop this from happening. So after this happened, I was obviously devastated. It's hard to describe how I felt. I knew in my logical brain that I wasn't responsible for any of this, but my heart felt crushed. My soul felt crushed. I had a conversation with two of my very good friends who feel like brothers, Jacob Jaramello and Matthew Van Camp. And they said, Steph, we got you. This was a Zoom call. I was just, I was crying. They said, Steph, we got you. And I said, I still have so many people to get back to. I don't know how to do this. I'm just one person. I'm also not trained. My background is a designer. I work in marketing, design. I'm not trained to deal with people that's speaking about this. And so Matt and Jay had said, listen, we're going to start an email. And we're going to get back to every single person that has questions. If you don't have the answers, we're going to talk to someone that has the answers. We're not going to leave anyone hanging. And from that point, we started this group, this sort of movement called CF Get Loud. And it was just people from around Canada that were just all so mad and angry and feeling like they were screaming into an abyss. And learning from my story, I realized you don't have to be the person that's been advocating your whole life to make a difference. You don't have to be the person that's been presenting at these galas every year. You can choose at any age, whether you're a CF patient or you're a parent, to say, you know what, I know I haven't been able to step up yet, but I'm going to now, and I'm going to make a big difference. CF Canada took to Queen's Park, and I was there to speak on behalf of patients and talk about my journey. I was there with two other CF patients, one Maddie Vanstone, who had already received a gene modulator about a decade before that, and another patient, Samantha Roy, who had not yet gained compassionate care. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but to get compassionate care, you have to be at end-stage disease. You have to be in complete lung, almost failure to receive this blessing from the manufacturer. So if you're waiting for it and you're just slightly above 40% lung function, meaning you're just slightly not in end-stage disease, it's a terrible mind game to not, to be waiting for an approval. So, as a patient, I just thought, what can I do? I attended all the CF Canada seminars, I attended everything I could, but I'm just the type of person that I need to take action. So together we created a huge campaign to try to get people from around the world to hear our message. This was in 2020. The news headlines were heavy. The news headlines were saturated with the words of the pandemic. It was so hard to get through. So we thought, how can we find creative ways to elevate the voices of the CF community? We had kids from across Canada get involved in coloring challenges, and people put these on their windows next to the rainbows during the pandemic. This was also a sneaky little concept that if they went to meet or had a Zoom call or anything with a member of parliament or an MPP, they could say, hey, my kid drew this for you, or hey, this is from my kid. Everything I could think of, we did. We did websites, we did social media, we did everything to elevate the key message. During this fight, our key message was evolving in the CF community. So wherever we could elevate the messages, through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and through our website, we did. We created a 20-page back-to-school booklet for the kids as well. We are really looking after the kids, because when you learn about CF, it can be quite heavy and it can be very not age appropriate. But our goal with this was to empower kids, was to make them feel like I am a superhero and I'm making a difference in Canada, and they did. One of the pages here was their first advocacy poster to hang on their wall, to share with their friends. And then they even signed a pledge that I will be strong and I will be an advocate. And there was even a page that they wrote tricafta down the page like my son did on the Santa list. Again, this was a great way that if they have a meeting with an elected official, they can say, hey, you want to see what my kid's working on? And the language involved in it helped the parents who weren't yet involved in the fight also understand on a really high level what we were fighting for. Through social media campaigns, we kept track of trending audios, trending reels, trending TikToks, and we got people from around the world to start writing CF Get Loud and CF Can't Wait on their arm. This is something that grew bigger than Canada, and it's still something that's trending in the UK, around the world, and it's great to see it out there because it's just CF pride. absolute pride. And people that had no connection to CF started writing on their arms, and it was really amazing to see. And the reason why I want to talk about this slide here is because at the time, the fight was long and we were getting thrown back again and again and again. We needed these little wins to keep the community together, to keep the community just engaged. The CF community did a Letters for Lives campaign, worked closely with CF Canada, and together we got 11,000 letters sent to an area of the government that was putting in some guidelines that were blocking our access to this rare disease medicine. So we learned a lot about our health technology assessment process. How do rare disease medicines get into Canada? And it's a long process and there's many roadblocks. Part of the process is this health technology evaluation. And CF Canada puts together these amazing reports with clinicians and scientists, and they do this fabulous job. And we thought, hey, can we do one too? So we're a group. Technically, you have to be it's usually only the national charity, but we thought, can we add something to it? Because again, as patients, we just thought, I have an idea, how can we help? So we filled these books that went to the government, got published on their website with simply quotes and stories from the CF community. We interviewed parents across the country and patients who sent in, who allowed us to use their voice and their words, sent in videos, sent in just before and afters. The people got compassionate care. This is where I was, this is where I am today. And then parents hope for their kids' lives. This is what I want for my daughter. I want to see her get married one day. How can you help me? CF Canada did this incredible thing where we met every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. And we met with people across all parties in the government. And together we got this letter signed with 44 signatures on it from across all parties saying, yes, we believe in Trikafta, and they supported our fight. And we won this huge, historic fight. This medicine got pushed through faster than any drug here in Canada. It went through at a speed that almost didn't even make sense. Typically, our public system can take years. With one of our meds, it took almost a decade. This got through so fast, but also it even beat the private system. This was something that we've never seen in the CF community. We were all crying tears of joy and sighs of relief because we can maybe get some rest. That was for ages 12 and up. We've since fought for ages 6 and up, and we'll keep fighting until everyone that is eligible for Trikafta can gain access. And as Kelly mentioned, we have 10% of the CF population that can't take this medicine. And I know if you're good at math, this slide makes no sense. But we have 10% of our population remaining without access to transforming medicine. But 100% of us need a cure right now. A week ago today, I was discharged from St. Michael's after spending 10 days there that were extremely scary. Even though I've been on Trikafta for going on almost, in January it will be 3 years. And I stand behind my broken record of a statement that Trikafta is a miracle. And I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have Trikafta. But CF is a relentless beast. It's a disease, like I said, in transition, and we are getting the upper hand and we're winning the fight. But I was saying to Kelly in an email, I said, Trikafta saved my life, but CF is this enemy of mine, and I feel like I'm learning how to do this delicate tango with it. So what I need from you tonight is to continue to support, continue to donate, continue to share your time and your efforts with CF Canada, because together we can make CF stand for Cure Found, but we can also thrive. 100% of us will thrive in the near future with CF with your help. Thank you very much.